The White House late last night, after spending about 3 days denying or ignoring questions about this, actually confirmed that there had been a delay of an arms shipment to Israel from the U.S. government. Meanwhile, CIA Director Bill Burns is continuing ongoing, almost ceaseless efforts to try to broker a ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas. Burns met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem today. Margaret Brennan joins me now here at the desk. Margaret, of course, is our chief foreign affairs correspondent and the moderator of Face the Nation. What is Bill Burns trying to do, Margaret?
Bill Burns is trying to do something that the Israeli government doesn't seem able to do, which is to get 132 hostages out. But really, what's driving this is the idea that he can pause for some period of time the fighting, even in a limited way. And the CIA director is not typically in the role of essentially being the top diplomat, but he is in this case. He's someone who knows the region well. He's back in Cairo as of this hour, we know, to continue some of these technical talks. But if you noticed in that White House readout yesterday, it was President Biden who briefed Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, on the status of the hostage talks. It is the U.S. really driving this and trying to force it because they also see it as the only way to get the fighting to stop in the short term, to allow in humanitarian aid to stop the famine in the north and to allow for some kind of resetting of positions.
And how would you, Margaret, describe the status of the relationship between the United States and Israel at this moment? It feels fraught.
Well, I would say it is fraught when it comes to the Netanyahu government, most certainly. But the United States and Israel, in terms of their security partnership, as their IDF spokesperson came out and said today, is at an unprecedented scale. I mean, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, just ushered through $26 billion in aid. When we talk about this short-term pause of these dumb bombs, the 3,500 bombs, about half of which are 2,000-pound munitions, this is a sliver of the amount of U.S. taxpayer weaponry that is provided to the Israeli military. And so when you have this kind of pause, it is a big deal simply because Israel was told in any way by the White House to slow their roll, essentially, here when it comes to what they're doing in Rafah in southern Gaza. But in the scale of things, it is not necessarily leaving them without the weapons that they need in this immediate moment in time. And Senate Republicans are quick to argue that Israel is being left in the lurch, but U.S. officials would say their stockpiles and their weaponry and their surging of materials is continuing to happen.
And there's this ongoing conversation between the United States and Israel over the scope of whatever may happen in Rafah.
That's right. And you hear, it's interesting, Major, this story has just become a U.S. domestic political story as well, because you also see half of congressional Democrats now signing on to say the United States should withhold offensive weapons, not defensive. Not the Iron Dome, not David Sling, not any of the things that would stop someone from bombing inside of Israel, but to say to Israel, if you are fighting a just war, which is what Biden says the Israeli government is waging here in terms of fighting Hamas, then you need to fight that just war in a just fashion and do so within the parameters of established international and U.S. law. And these congressional Democrats who just every single week we see a public letter saying that Israel is in violation of the Foreign Assistance Act by blocking aid. You see these extremist settlers who just attacked delivery trucks from Jordan, for example, that were going into Gaza. You see political protests. You see right-wing ministers who just recently were in control of the delivery of aid and had blocked U.S. taxpayer-provided flour from being allowed in. You have layers and layers of problems within this very politically shaky right-wing government Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to keep together. At the same time, he's trying to also negotiate his relationship with the United States. And some of the hardline positions that are politically expedient to him, such as not necessarily leading first with the hostages, but rather with the war, there's some real deep questioning within the Biden administration, to get back to your initial question, as to what his motivations are and if he is seeing clearly the end game, that they believe the hostages should be a top priority. They believe that being able to strategically defeat Hamas is more important here.
In the minute we have left, Margaret, can you describe, as we know it, the situation for civilians trapped in this place of famine and heartache and devastation?
Major, I was just looking at a log of some of the footage that our producer Marwan Al-Ghul helped to feed out so that we have eyes on the ground, because international journalists are not permitted in, with very few exceptions, and only with Israeli military sensors are they allowed in at this point. We don't get that unvarnished view unless it's because of these producers like Marwan. And what he fed out was absolute devastation. Interviews with doctors at hospitals who said they cannot even get medicines at this point because that Rafah gate crossing has been blocked. So Rafah is already under an aerial bombardment. This is already the most densely populated place in the world. The U.S. says there are 1.4 million people there. And when you hear those numbers, like the 35,000 that the Gaza Ministry of Health says, the UN also says, and the U.S. says are pretty accurate, that's only the bodies they found. It doesn't account for the people under the rubble. So when you hear 15,000 children, assume that's an underestimate. That gives you a description of the level of devastation, as does the word famine, that I don't think we can fully appreciate being man-made in this portion of the world. So that is what is driving some of these critics who are saying, if the United States is going to be funding this war, they want to be able to have a say in how it is prosecuted and be able to stay in accordance with existing U.S. law, like the Leahy Act and President Biden's own national security memorandum. And stay tuned for that, because he does have to report to Congress whether
Very
Israel,
soon. Yes,
is living up to the standards.
Maybe some delays in that, but that's expected any day now. Unparalleled expertise and perspective, Margaret Brennan, as always. Thank you so very much.